Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you enjoyed my new intro, which I just sorted out a couple of days ago. But I'm really excited to have like a new autumny, wintry intro. Yeah, so this video is one that I have been debating doing since I started my channel, and I wasn't 100% sure how to approach it. So I think what I'm going to do is give you an overview today, and then I'll do like a series on it and go into more detail. But basically this video is going to be a general chat about my journey with my mental health through my life. And I want to do this because I think it's really important to be honest and open. And I think the more people who share their stories online, the more normal it becomes and the less of a taboo topic it seems. And hopefully that will make more people feel like they're able to speak out and get help. Which is the most important thing, is that if you are struggling and if you're in a dark place or a difficult place with your mental health, that you reach out for help and talk to someone. It doesn't matter who that is, but it's very, very important to get help, because there are better things coming. There are so many things to look forward to, that it's just definitely really important to do that. If you are really struggling and you've sort of been, I know it's really easy to get sort of bogged down in the YouTube black hole of mental health if you're really struggling. So I will put the number for the Samaritans below and a link to some helpful resources. So I will do a link for Beat, which is an eating disorder charity, and also some links to the charity Mind, who help with general mental health. So I don't want to blab on for too long today. I don't want to overload you with information, and I also need to be quite careful about how I make myself feel. I don't know if you can tell, but I am a little bit nervous filming this. I am open and honest about my mental health to people, but I don't go around shouting about it. So if someone asks me a question and the only honest way to respond is by telling them about my mental health and why that particular thing happened, then I will tell them. I won't make up an excuse, but I'm not going to go shouting about it. So this, for me, I mean, I kind of am shouting about it, but not, I want this to help people. Yes, it's good for me to talk about it, whether I'm, just talking about it to a camera, or it means that more people just online in general are talking about it and the conversation is happening. I know it has been happening for quite a few years now, but the more that it is spoken about, the better. So there we go, I'm blabbing already. But yes, I just don't think I know where to start. So I was very lucky. As a child, my parents taught in an independent school, and because they worked there, they were able to send me to that school, which was fantastic, and I had so many brilliant opportunities there. It really worked for me very well up until, I'd say, my GCSE year, year 10. So year 10 is the first year of GCSEs, and year 11, when you're sort of 15, 16, is when you take your GCSE exams. So yeah, it came to GCSEs, and I think I just started to become aware of the pressure, like external pressures, and I'd always done quite well. I wasn't massively sporty, but I played netball, and I'd always been at the bottom of the top team, so I'd always flip between the top team and the next one down, but no one really knew where to put me. So I was never really wanted by either, but I was still like okay, I was still reasonably okay. But I was very musical. I was always, I was definitely one of sort of the top musicians in my year. I was also quite academic at the time, so I was either in the top set or the second top set of sort of 12 to 15 sets, which was fantastic. But as soon as there was the external pressure of exams that actually had a sort of say towards your future, I think that all started to get to me a bit. So having not had to really try or even think about sort of trying to do well, like it just kind of came to me naturally, like I just was musical, it just kind of happened. Suddenly I like had to put in the work, which obviously everyone finds that out, but I found that quite difficult, and I did do it, and I did well in my GCSEs, but only just. So I would say from halfway through year 11, so I was 15, in the UK you get exam leave, where you don't have to go to school, you can sort of just stay at home and do revision, and that allowed me the independence that I don't think I needed or was in a position to have. And I had always struggled with my body image. I was very tall. I'm 5'9", 5'10", and I've actually been this height since I was about 12. So I was just so tall when I was 12 compared to everyone else, and that always made me feel quite insecure. I was never popular in school. Like, I had my lovely group of friends, but I think if you can resonate with that, then you will know that you can feel quite inadequate in that situation. Yeah, so I was quite insecure throughout, sort of, I guess from when I was maybe 11 even. I also was always sort of slightly larger. I think I had I don't even know if it was puppy fat, but I was larger. I wasn't obese, I wasn't like an obese child, but I did have some puppy fat. So I was always quite insecure. So this exam leave period came along, and I got it in my head that I was going to sort of cut my food, and that I was going to start eating less. And I, even thinking back on it now, I cannot believe how quickly I let myself slip. So, you know, it went from being at school and eating, you know, breakfast at home, lunch at school, sometimes dinner at school because it was a boarding school, sometimes dinner at home, mum and dad, and I'd had snacks and whatever. And then suddenly it was exam leave, and I'm not going to say like what I ate or how much, like this, I'm not going to mention calories or weight or things because I don't want that to be directly triggering. Obviously this video will be triggering for some people, which is why I have put a trigger warning at the beginning, but I'm not going to make it to that extent because I don't think that's appropriate. But I wasn't eating anywhere near enough, nothing with any substance, and that excited me. It really excited me, and it just sort of, what's the word, it pushed me on to keep going and to keep eating less and less. And I can't remember at what point, but I've always said, since I've been able to look back on my experience, I've always said that there is a point, or there was a point for me with my eating disorder, and I don't know when it was, but there's a point where, so at the beginning, you know, like when someone tries to diet, you have to try to eat less. But there's a point with eating disorders, or for me there was, where instead of it being me trying to eat less, I couldn't eat enough. So you've got like trying to eat less, and then you've got this bit, which is where you can't eat enough. And that's a point I hit very, very quickly. Yeah, it is scary looking back on it. I'm really sorry I'm stalling in this video quite a lot. It's not an easy thing to talk about. I also don't think about it that much, so sort of racking my brain back to it is taking a while. Yeah, so exam leave wasn't very good for me, and my GCSE grades did suffer a bit. I still did well. I did, you know, across the board, so I ranged in a spectrum. I got from A stars to C's. So yeah, but I always had sort of like strengths and weaknesses in various subjects, but there's no doubt about it that had I not developed this issue with my food and eating, that I would have done better. So after that, after GCSEs were over, it was the long summer holiday, and that just gave me even more time without routine to dig myself into like the most horrific hole. My parents went away and I stayed with a friend for a week or so, where I could just eat as little as I wanted. I went on holiday with a friend, in which I ate literally nothing. And by the time it came around to September, you know, late August, early September, when it was time to go back to school, I was already seeing CAMS, the Child and Adult Mental Health Services. So I had actually been taken to the GP by my mum. I think it was in early August, because she could just see me wasting away, and our GP was like a family GP. He'd known us for ages, and he, having known us, put me on an urgent referral to the mental health services, because he could see how entrenched in it I was. So they put me on their books. They were just monitoring me. So you have these horrible appointments with CAMS where they weigh you, which honestly is the most triggering thing in the world. Like, being weighed in front of people who are about to tell you how ill you are is just horrible. But they would weigh you and take your blood pressure, and they do that at every appointment. So I was seeing them 2 to 3 times a week at that point. So yeah, it came to a couple of weeks before going back to school, and I was really excited. I couldn't wait to go to sixth form. Great, even more freedom, away from mum and dad. I can eat even less. So I think I managed under a week at sixth form before CAMS, the mental health team, said that I was too underweight to go to school. And actually, you know what, thinking about it, I don't even think it was CAMS who said that. I think it was a mixture of CAMS, the mental health team, saying that it's dangerous for you to be up and about and doing things because you're probably going to collapse at some point. And actually my school, because of how unwell I was, and I don't know if you've heard of BMI, so it's like your height to weight ratio, and it's a scale on that, but because of how low my BMI was, my school weren't allowed to take me because of how underweight I was. And because I had at that point been diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. So I think I lasted, I honestly don't know, so much of this I don't remember because I was so poorly, but I would say it's under a week I lasted at school, until I was pulled out. So I was still seeing CAMS 2 to 3 times a week. I'd got into the horrible habit of drinking lots and lots of water before they weighed me to try and cheat my weight, which is what a lot of people with eating disorders do. I know that, and it was a really silly thing to do, but you will literally do anything for people to think that you're not ill, to like cheat the system, you'd literally just do anything. And it got to the point where I was at an appointment and they said, your blood pressure is dangerous, you are incredibly underweight, we're going to see you again in 2 days, and if you've not put on any weight. So they weren't even asking me to stop losing weight, they really wanted me, like it wasn't an option to not put on weight because of how I was doing. And they said, you know, we'll see you in 2 days, and if you haven't put on weight, then you have to go to hospital, because you're not safe to be out and about, because your heart could go, you could go into cardiac arrest, you could collapse, you could something, just anything, literally anything could happen. I'd done so much damage. Went back 2 days later, obviously I'd lost weight, because that's anorexia. They sent me straight to my local general hospital, and I was on the paediatric ward, the children's ward, and I was there for, I think, about 2 weeks. And they basically just put me in bed and fed me. They just bought me food, and a nurse stayed with me while I ate it, and that's about it. I was weighed every day, I had blood tests every day. It wasn't very nice. But again, as I said, I can't really remember it that well, because I wasn't in a well enough state to be able to process it properly. So yeah, I came out of general hospital with this meal plan from a dietitian, who, I'm going to be honest, was a nightmare. He was a general dietitian, so he put me on a weight gaining diet for anyone who was underweight for any reason, not for people with eating disorders. So and they are very different things. You have to be very I don't know, but it's basically, it was not right for me. Like that wouldn't have been a right meal plan for, I'm willing to say, anyone who was needing to put on weight because they were anorexic whilst still being in the mindset of needing. It's not even like you want to lose weight, like you need to lose weight. So anyway, I've also realised I'm blabbing, but this is good because we've got to this point, and then I'll do more specific videos from the point onwards, but I'm going to just overview you now on the rest of the journey. So basically, I came out of hospital, that must have been in like November, out of general hospital, October, November at this point. I was at home, I was ticking along. My dad actually had to take time off work to look after me, which I'm forever grateful for. I can't believe that had to happen. It was just awful. But yeah, I was ticking along, I was seeing CAMS twice a week, the mental health team, and it got to a point again in March where I had lost more weight, and I was at a lower weight than I was when they put me into general hospital in the first place, I think. And they said that they wanted me to go into an inpatient eating disorders unit, which is a hospital which is managed and run specifically for patients with eating disorders. So it was, I was very against it, because I knew that if I was there I was going to have to eat basically. Also at this point, so in the months between sort of October and March, when I was out of general hospital, I had gotten into a really bad position with exercise. So I was also obsessively exercising, which I think is called orthorexia. I will put a little star up there if it's not called that, because I don't want to get any of this terminology wrong. But I was really struggling with that. So I was doing, you know, crazy numbers of sit-ups and God knows how many minutes of plank, and I was going on these enormous walks every day because I was just trying to burn calories and lose weight. And I also knew that going into hospital I wasn't going to be able to do any of that either. So I went up for a visit to the hospital because basically my CAMS team said, and this is what everyone's told really when they're they're told they think they should go into hospital for an eating disorder. Most people, they say you can go in because you've chosen to go in and we've asked you and you've gone, or you can refuse and we'll section you and send you anyway. So sectioning is when you have like a mental health assessment and they decide that you're not able, because of how mentally ill you are, you're not able to make your own decisions. But anyway, so I went up for this visit, and I think I was in such a desperate state that when I got there, I couldn't believe like how it made me feel, and I just felt like I needed to be there. I remember saying to my parents, like, I don't want to, but I need to be here. And I think I could feel a sense of relief, and even though I was very ill and I didn't want to put on weight and I knew that being there would make me, I almost felt a sense of relief that I wouldn't be in a position to be able to really choose what I ate or how I exercised, because I would just be told, and if I didn't, like, I wasn't allowed to do anything that wasn't basically prescribed. And I think that was what I really needed at that point. I needed routine and I needed rules. And I think a lot of people with eating disorders, I can't speak for others, but for anorexia, definitely rules and really strict regulations are really important, because it's such a manipulative disease. Honestly, it's horrific how manipulative it can be, and the things it can make you do are just horrible. So rules and regulations are what keep you alive, basically. So yeah, I went into that hospital voluntarily. And that was in, I actually think that was in May, not March. So it was October to May, I wasn't in hospital. That was, I think, at the beginning of May. I was 16. My birthday, a couple of months later, that July, was my 17th birthday. So I was at that hospital for nearly 4 months, and I had basically managed to manipulate a hospital where they're supposed to be making you gain weight, and I'd manipulated the system so badly that they couldn't make me gain weight, because I was either hiding food or doing secret exercise or whatever, convincing them that I didn't need to eat this extra bit. So somehow I'd even managed to do that. So they basically, I got to a point where I realised that I didn't have to do any of their stuff, because I wasn't losing weight and I was doing all these little things that I wasn't necessarily allowed to. So I decided, well, excuse my language, but like, fuck it, I don't have to do anything they say. So I just decided that, like, I wasn't going to eat. So I refused every meal, every snack. I just refused it. And they said to me, they were like, if you don't start eating now, we're going to have to get you a mental health assessment. And I was like, okay, fine, do it. I don't care. I'm not bothered. Like, watch me not eat. Watch me lose weight. Watch me make myself more poorly. And then, of course, they did get me a mental health assessment. This was at the end of August at this point, so I was just over 17 in a month or so. And I had that mental health assessment, and they decided that they needed to section me under the Mental Health Act and send me to a secure unit, because the place I was at couldn't handle my needs, because I was managing to get around the rules. So they sectioned me and they sent me to another hospital, and I was there from August to December. So another 4 months, and that hospital was very different. There are a lot of people I made connections with that really helped me. I think the staff there particularly, sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, the staff there particularly were really helpful. But yeah, sorry, that second hospital really, I don't know what it was, but something, sorry, oh god, something while I was there changed, and I was able to see all the horrible things that I'd done to people and the relationships that I had tarnished while I was ill. And I was then, you know, able to see that actually there's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot of life left to live. God, I'm so sorry, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. So yeah, I worked really hard. I've never worked harder at anything in my life than trying to make myself better in that second hospital. And I managed to get out in December. I worked for a bit. I retook my maths GCSE because I was stubborn and I'd only got an A when I took it first time round, and I knew I could get an A star. So I worked my bum off to get myself that A star, which I did. And after that I enrolled in college. College didn't go enormously well for me. I started off doing my 4 A-levels, which were music, maths, further maths and Spanish. I got most of the way through the year, and then my mental health went downhill again. Actually no, I didn't make it all the way through the year. I made it the first term before my mental health started to go downhill really, really fast again. I was re-referred, having been basically discharged from the children's mental health service when I came out of that second hospital in December. I was then re-referred onto the adult services because by this point, when I'd enrolled in college, I was 18. So I was re-referred to them and was having talking therapy with them, but I did have quite a big relapse with my eating disorder. And I found the difference between the child services and the adult services quite difficult to deal with because, as I've said a million times, anorexia is a very manipulative illness, and the differences in the systems and how they worked meant that there were definitely ways that I could sort of like wiggle my way around the rules. But so I did have a relapse, and it wasn't, obviously it wasn't good, but I did manage to bring myself back up out of that, and I would say that by the summer of that year, I wasn't better, but I wasn't losing weight. I had managed to stabilise myself, and then I would say from the year after, so my second year of college, I had dropped to only the 1 A-level, to my music A-level, because that was what was going to make my mental health manageable. Otherwise I wouldn't have coped. I would have completely, I think I would have, you know, just broken down into a pile of mush basically and cried for the rest of my life. So I did my 1 A-level, I somehow got through it. Came out of college with 1 A-level. I got a B in my 1 A-level, and I had also a lot of like music exam grades as well. I wanted to study music at university, but somehow with 1 A-level and my practical sort of instrumental singing exam certificates, I got offers from 4 universities. I got 2 unconditionals and 2 conditional offers, having been told by my college that no uni will want you if you only have 1 A-level. So fuck you, Margaret, who was my head of sixth form. And yeah, I got into uni, and since I started uni it's been very up and down, but with food I've been significantly better. I've definitely struggled a lot more with depression and anxiety, which were diagnosed to me, like I got those diagnoses alongside my anorexia. So my official diagnosis at the time was anorexia nervosa with depression and anxiety. So the anxiety and depression has definitely affected me more than the eating since I've been at uni. I think anxiety has definitely been my main struggle, especially recently. I still really struggle with it. I've also, I think, learned quite a lot about myself since coming to university, and also since getting into a serious relationship. It's allowed me to first of all accept myself, which I've never been able to do before, and I think through accepting myself I've been able to learn about myself, and that has allowed me to see that I am an utter perfectionist, and a lot of the pressure that I feel isn't actually coming from anyone else, it's just coming from me. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of things to try and work on myself. I am doing my best, and that is all I can do. I hope that if you have been watching this as a sort of things will get better, that it hasn't been too disheartening, because I am actually doing really well at the moment. You know, when I think back to, you know, being in hospital, being sectioned, being, you know, with the threat of being force fed through a tube, like it's incomparable. Like, I'm sat here in a flat that I rent with my boyfriend. I go to university. I have a good group of friends. I am just so lucky. Like, you know, a decent amount of the time I am happy, and I'm physically healthy, and I have so much to be grateful for. And I am just so thankful that whatever it bloody was in my head, that little spark, whatever it was, that tiny little glimmer, allowed me to be able to see that this was ahead of me, and that it was worth fighting for. And for anyone who is in a bad place, it is worth fighting for. It is, I promise, it's worth fighting for. You need to put your heart and soul into it, and it's not going to be easy, but it is worth fighting for 110 million%. Like, you just have to do it. Yeah. I also hope for anyone who was watching this just out of interest, out of curiosity, that it might have been a bit eye-opening to what actually kind of happens behind closed doors of mental health and eating disorder. I mean, people who've been diagnosed with them, and in units and hospitals as well. I've actually had a really nice time chatting. It's not been easy. I didn't really want to film this, but I also knew that it was important for me and for other people who need to see this. And like I said, I've linked those resources below. So please, if you are struggling, please, this is your time to reach out for help. You deserve help, and you deserve to be happy. Everyone does. So please, 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 whoever it is, it doesn't matter, please talk to someone, and you are worth help. You deserve help. And I really hope that one day you'll be able to value yourself as much as you should, because you're amazing. You're all amazing. You're all beautiful. And I will see you next time. But yeah, please do subscribe to my channel so you can see those upcoming videos. Like I said, I will try and put them in a playlist or something, or a series. Yeah, so like the video, comment if you do want any specific information in one of the other videos, and I will see you next time.